Hey guys, it's been a really long time since I've last put out a video on my channel at all. Today I just want to do a quick Blu-ray collection update because it's been a while since, as I've just said, it's been a while. Over the past couple of months I've only picked up a couple of titles. You know, I've started to collect less films as we go along, mainly because I've been watching a lot of stuff on Netflix and Amazon, and I'm only really picking up the kind of niche titles and the kind of deals and finds alongside the Arrow releases. I think Arrow are like the greatest company at the minute that release home video stuff, and all of their editions are really good, and I can't really say no to a lot of them because of the quality of their releases. So I'm just going to go quickly over the stuff that I've got and update you guys. First up, I have a Masters of Cinema release. This one is in packaging still, recently went out of print, so this is now limited. Well, the limited edition run of it is over. You know, it's no longer made by the Master of Cinema Eureka, and that is Ruggles of Red Gap. I've not seen it. I've heard it's a bit of a comedy, and I've heard it's very good actually. I listened to a couple of podcasts about it, and a lot of the feedback was that they weren't expecting it to be as good as it actually was. So that's really promising, and I'm looking forward to watching it at some point if I can bring myself to take it out of the plastic, which I probably will, to be fair, because I want to watch it. So next up I've got a release from the BFI here, and I've got A Woman Under the Influence. I've not seen this film. I know it's by John Cassavetes, and I've not seen any of his work actually. The BFI usually do really good transfers and releases. The special features on this are fairly bare bones, and they're limited to the DVD within inside of this release rather than the Blu-ray. Similar thing happened on their Sailor release. You know, they had a separate DVD with special features on, but they didn't put it on the Blu-ray disc with the feature film, which is weird. So you have to watch, even though the quality would probably be standard definition regardless, you have to then take out that disc and put a new one in for the special features, which is odd. I'll probably watch them if I like the film, and I've got big hopes for this. And the next release I've got follows on from the last one, and that is The Killing of a Chinese Bookie, again by John Cassavetes. I've not seen any of his work, as I've just said, but I've heard that this is also very good, so I'm very much looking forward to checking this out. From the cover alone, I'm quite intrigued, and you know, I'm guessing this release is really good as well. I know that Criterion have released a box set of John Cassavetes' work, and obviously they're a pretty big staple in the home release market. Usually, I mean, in America, if they release something, it's pretty much guaranteed that the film is going to be pretty much exceptional. I do have some issues with some of their releases. You know, I have seen some John Waters being released on there, and I'm not a huge fan of Waters, but you know, generally they're pretty well accepted. Next up, it's the only Curzon Artificial Eye release I've got, and that is Still Alice. This film came out a while ago, and it's meant to be very good. The acting in it is meant to be terrific, and I found this on Blu-ray for like £2. So I'm happy to add it to the collection of the Artificial Eye releases, and I will check it out at some point. I'm looking forward to seeing what the performance is like, and I've only heard good things about this. So before I move on to the Arrow releases, the next thing is a box set of Twin Peaks. This is Twin Peaks Seasons 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, the entire mystery. It also comes with the film Fire Walk With Me. I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with Twin Peaks, actually, because I'm a really big fan of David Lynch. I absolutely adore a lot of his work, and I think he's a really skilled filmmaker who just can create some incredible moods within his films. I often think that that's why I watch his films. You know, the music, the score, the cinematography, everything about it is just perfectly encapsulating different moods and ideas and enriching the storylines within his work by placing these kind of obscure narrative themes throughout it. Twin Peaks, for its time, was exceptional. You know, it was absolutely groundbreaking for the television community, and it has a lot of big following as well. I have watched Twin Peaks. I've watched all of the series, and I have to say I found the first two seasons quite hard to get into. As a Lynch fan, my favourite of his films, you know, Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway, are the more kind of surreal kind of approaches, and they kind of deal with themes of creating films, and for me anyway, they're about filmmaking. Twin Peaks is kind of an interesting insight into how David Lynch would make a serial. The performances in this are mostly very good, some very campy performances obviously, but I will say that I have watched all of season 3 as well, and the best thing about season 3 in my opinion is that not all of it takes place within Twin Peaks, and the narrative within that flows beautifully with the rest of all of these episodes within this set and the film, and it really kind of offers a bit of closure to the series. And for me, the season 3 is my favourite season of the show. When I pick that up on Blu-ray, I will plan to try and marathon parts of it, because Lynch himself has said that he saw season 3 as an 18-hour long film, like as kind of a bit of closure to the whole Twin Peaks mystery. I thought season 3 was excellent, so I kind of wanted to pick this up and revisit it. I've worked my way through half of season 1, and I'm enjoying it more than I did the first time I watched it. This has some really, really good special features. You know, it has all the missing pieces, and yeah, it's a really nice set. I got this pretty cheap, so I'm looking forward to checking out the rest of it and then rewatching season 3. So yeah, moving on, the last films in this collection update are Arrow releases. I'm a huge fan of Arrow, as I've prefaced at the start of this video. You know, they're a huge problem for me because I tend to buy every single box set that they release because the quality of them is so bloody high. You know, the transfers on them are excellent, and they normally release some really, really interesting films. Some stuff I've never heard of, some stuff I've never seen before, and again, as you'll see in this update, films and collections that they've already made collections for certain directors, and just kind of revisiting that kind of work and looking at how different directors progress throughout their careers is another thing that's really interesting to me as well. You know, how do they develop their styles from when they start their cinematic kind of creation to like the end of their lives, or as their film career progresses, how do they change and adapt their own skills? As I've said, they're not great for me because they tend to break my bank whenever they release a load of stuff. And I've recently seen that they are doing a Eric Roma box set which has 10 films in it, and I'm like, where do I just get that money for? Because that looks absolutely exceptional. You know, I'm probably going to buy it, but you know, it's a massive box and it's going to be awesome. Over the next couple of months, they're releasing about 5 box sets. So the first one would be a box set of Family Values, 3 films by Hirokazu Koreeda. I have probably butchered that name, I apologise. They're releasing 4 films by Sacha Guitry. I've probably pronounced his name incorrectly. I've never really heard of him before. I don't know anything about him, but they're from the 1930s and they're French, so they could be interesting, you know. They're also releasing a collection of film noir classics, and that's going to be a great release as well. That's being released in November, as is the Sacha Guitry set, as is the Family Values set. And they're also releasing a box set of Jean-Luc Godard films with Jean-Pierre Gorin, and they're going to be interesting as well. They're quite politically charged, I imagine, and Godard's a really interesting filmmaker for me. I'm not a huge fan of some of his work. You know, Breathless is incredibly celebrated, but I do find it quite inaccessible as a film. That being said, I have seen Vivre sa vie, and I think that was way more accessible. But I'm still trying to work my way through his catalogue because he's a really good filmmaker, and the way he crafts his films are always really interesting. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And knowing that the Godard release is coming out as well, on the shelf will be the Jacques Rivette set and the Jean-Luc Godard set and the Eric Roma collection, which, you know, as like a French New Wave kind of situation, is going to be a lot of fun to get through. It's going to be probably quite tough because New Wave's quite hard to watch in my opinion, but it's going to be really intriguing and I'm looking forward to checking it out. And on their Arrow video line, they're also releasing things like The Thing in that special edition set, and recently announced the edition of Carrie. There's another box set, a smaller box set for Billy Wilder's Apartment on the Arrow Academy line, which is probably going to be the same size as the Ludwig set. They're just releasing loads and loads of really good stuff at the minute, and it's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to looking through it and like watching it, but it's a lot of money and it's going to be hard to keep up with it. So on to the actual releases that I've picked up over the past couple of months from Arrow. First up is Brian De Palma film Blowout. This is a really good film, actually. Really fun. I've never actually watched a Brian De Palma film. I have seen this now, and I really liked it, actually. I can see where Tarantino got a lot of his kind of ideas and style from, and he's definitely a filmmaker that I want to carry on watching his stuff. This is obviously a remake of, a reimagining of Antonioni's Blowout. This is obviously like a remake or a retelling of Antonioni's Blow Up, which is an excellent film. You know, a really, really good film. Highly recommend you check that out if you haven't seen it. The performances in this are quite good. You know, Nancy Allen, slightly annoying, but, you know, pretty good. And John Travolta was pretty good in it as well. Nice cinematography, interesting use of like split screen stuff, and it's also quite stylish as well. You know, you can kind of see the amalgamation of this and Blow Up. If you watch Barbarian Sound Studio that came out a couple of years ago, you know, that's all about the process of sounds and films being made and stuff like that. So if you're interested in this film, check out Antonioni's Blow Up and check out Barbarian Sound Studio. Next up, we'll go in order of release. I've been pronouncing this wrong for a couple of collections now, you know, because I've been talking about the upcoming Arrow titles, and I called it the Toshio trilogy. This is the Toshio Suzuki box set that they released a couple of months ago. I've seen some of his early work, which was on the Nikatsu trilogy, one of the releases from Arrow Video. I've also seen Branded to Kill, again released on Arrow Video. I find it weird that Arrow have decided to put some of his films on the video line and some of his films on the Academy line, but I can kind of see why. There's another box set for him coming out in November as well, so add that to the list of things coming out in November from Arrow that are going to cost quite a significant amount of money. But he's a really interesting filmmaker in Japan. You know, this apparently is a set that is highly, highly praised in Japan, and I can kind of see why. I've seen the first film in this, which is Zigenerweisen. I can't pronounce it. I apologise for absolutely butchering that. But I really quite enjoyed it. It was a weird kind of folk tale kind of story, but shot really beautifully, well directed, well acted. Some of the editing in it was fairly opaque as to where it was leading, where it was going. Obviously, watching Branded to Kill first has helped me kind of come to the realisation that Suzuki kind of edits in ways which one may not anticipate, and as a visual stylist, Suzuki is pretty incredible at what he does. So yeah, this set comes with these films. You can probably read them. I'll put them on titles on the screen if you can't. And the artwork on this set is absolutely gorgeous. It's a really nice set. Really pleased that I picked it up because it's nice to explore some more Suzuki. It comes with a booklet as well, and I think there are quite a few special features as well. Just as a heads up, if you're going to bet it, there is a piece of card which comes with the set itself. You know, it sits on the back of the set. I'm never a fan of these pieces of card. I'd much prefer it if they did without it, because my edition of the Jack Rivette set, the piece of paper around it broke in the mail, so, you know, I can't use that. I think the bit on the side of the Human Condition box set doesn't really work when the spine's facing out with all the other titles, and but I do kind of think that the Ludwig set works, so, you know, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for that. Yeah, it's a really, really nice set. I'd highly recommend it if you're into Japanese cinema in any kind of way. It's probably kind of comparable to the other Yoshida set that they put out, because it's just an exploration of cinema that I don't really know much about, and it's really interesting for me and fun for me to work my way through this stuff. I could do an unboxing video of this set if anyone wants. Leave a comment if you do, but the artwork is also really beautiful and I'd highly recommend it. Next up is the last set that I bought this month, and this is the 8 Hours Don't Make a Day by Rona Verna Fassbender. I'm looking forward to getting stuck right into this because Fassbender was a filmmaker I didn't really know much about till like last year. I picked up the Arrow Academy release of the Rona Verna Fassbender collection when they released that in March 2016, I believe. That was an incredible box set. I'd highly recommend trying to get a copy. I don't know whether it's out of print anymore. As someone who had never seen any of his work before, it was an excellent chance for me to kind of work my way through his kind of film collection. One thing I will say about this set though is that I'm not a fan of the box art. I think that like this doesn't really work for me. I haven't seen the films, so I don't know who he is, but when you've got artwork like the Toshio trilogy and the Taviani set and, you know, the Yoshida set, and I'm trying to think of all the other artwork, that's all absolutely stunning. Then you come along to this and pull it out, and it's just got a bloke with a big nose on the front cover. It's not the most inviting set to look at visually. And as well, on the shelf, the art on the spine, I call it art, isn't particularly inviting either. Most of the box sets have really nice spines. I know that sounds a bit weird, but when they're all sat on the shelf, they mostly look nice. I do have a problem with the spine of the Fassbender collection because it does have the BBFC rating of 15 on it, and none of the other box sets that Arrow have released has the BBFC rating on it, so it kind of looks a bit off and it's a bit annoying, but it's not as bad as the design for this set. I genuinely don't like this. I don't know who this guy is. He might be important, and actually watching the films will probably change my opinion of how this cover is. But you can see that they've kind of gone for the F design like they have for the Fassbender collection set. But you can't, with this one, tell that it is an F, if that makes sense. So that big dark green line in the middle could just be a line. and it's not particularly great. That being said, Fassbender is an incredible filmmaker, and I'm really looking forward to checking this out. I'm hoping that it will be similar to the Decalogue, where I can kind of dip into each chapter along the way. I know that the story in this is kind of a continuation, but it's more of an 8-hour film. An Hour in the Past has also released the Human Condition trilogy, which is one big film released into different chunks. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to checking this out, because Fassbender's incredible. The special features on this set are actually really good. They were fairly lackluster on the website up until about its release. They've got documentary on here, a feature-length documentary, and it's also got a kind of... I'm pretty sure that Tony Royans has a kind of appreciation on this release, and I find Tony Royans' commentary and thoughts on the films that Arrow releases actually quite interesting. He has quite a lot of insight into it, and will often talk about other films that I've never heard of, and then I'll go out and watch and think, yeah, that's a bloody good film. I'm glad he's mentioned that. So thank you guys for watching this Blu-ray collection update. Sorry it's not very big. As I've said earlier in the video, there are a massive amount of titles coming from Arrow over the next couple of months. I will try and get my hands on the majority of them, but obviously some of them take precedence because of how limited they are and how renowned the film directors are. You know, I want to make sure that the ones that are limited edition will not run out before I get the chance to buy them. So yeah, looking forward to picking up some more titles in November, I think it is. But yeah, stay tuned on my channel, because I might do some unboxing videos and things like that. I do really want to put more effort into my YouTube channel. I say this every bloody time I do it, and I never actually get around to doing it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you've got any recommendations for box sets or things to talk about in the future, please write in the comments. If you like my content, like it, subscribe. I will try and put out more stuff, and yeah, if you recommend anything, let me know, and I'll see what I can do.